Hey, what's up guys? So recently I took my family out on vacation to Mount Rainier, and it was great to go out and spend some time in nature, play in the snow, be out in the fresh air, etc. Now, because my car wasn't big enough, we wound up renting a minivan to make sure we had enough room for everybody and for all the luggage. And in this video, I want to talk about what I used as my rental car setup, both for the radar detector and for the dash cam. I want to show you guys some of the different options I considered, what I wound up going with, as well as some of the pros and cons, including what I liked about the setup, and also some of the things that I didn't like as much or even went wrong. So starting off, my go-to option for a radar detector and a dash cam is the Escort MaxCam 360C. It's basically an integrated option with both a radar detector and a dash cam, and I like the fact that it's got good long-range performance, it's got good false alert filtering, and it has a dash cam built directly in here into the unit. So there's one mount, one power cable, one thing to toss on the windshield, and it makes it super convenient, which is really what I'm going for in a rental car install. Plus, I like the fact that the power cable has a USB port right here, which makes it really nice to plug in my phone for things like running Waze or Google Maps or something. Now, one of the limitations here of the MaxCam is the fact that it only has one front-facing dash cam. There's not a second one that points out the rear. And so for that reason, originally I was thinking of actually using the Vantrue X4 as my rear-facing dash cam. It's a 4K dash cam, and it has a nice suction cup, which makes it super easy to just stick on the windshield and run as a rental car dash cam. This is my go-to rental car dash cam only option, but something I've noticed is the suction cup, while it's really easy for just a quick temporary install, I do sometimes have issues getting this to stick to rear windows, and so for that reason, instead I wound up opting for the Viofo A229 Duo. Also records in 4K, but uses a double stick tape mount. So I just used some double stick tape, tossed it on the rear window, adjusted the lens like this to make sure it was pointed straight out the back. And then luckily in the back of the car there was a cigarette lighter, so I just ran the power cable, tucked it up in the headliner, and I was good to go. Now, for this trip, I was really hoping to run and test the new Viofo A219 Mini, as well as the A229 Duo, and collect some nice sample footage for both of these dash cams, but unfortunately, they didn't arrive until after I had already left. So that's the setup that I went for. The MaxCam for both the radar detector and the front-facing dash cam, and then the A229 Duo for my rear-facing dash cam. Next, let's talk about kind of how they fared, what I liked and what I didn't. So starting off with the MaxCam, I was actually really curious because we were driving a Chrysler Pacifica, which does have blind spot filtering built in, and luckily I didn't have a single issue with blind spot falses coming out of my own Chrysler Pacifica. The MaxCam did a great job of, I guess, filtering out if it was indeed an issue. In terms of BSM filtering in general, overall it was really quiet. I only had 2 BSM falses. One was from a Honda CR-V at 24.206. And the other one was from another Chrysler Pacifica at 24.205. Otherwise, the detector did a good job of filtering out false alerts here on K-band. Now, as far as the video quality here from the MaxCam, I was finding it wasn't as good as I was hoping for. It did do a good job of kind of recording what was going on around me, but I found the video quality seemed to be a little bit lacking, both in terms of detail, especially when it gets kind of cloudier, as well as in dynamic range, like recording some of the brighter areas in the video. This is an area where I find that the Viofo actually has better quality, and I do kind of miss some of the video quality here in the MaxCam. Nevertheless, it's still going to be able to record kind of what's going on around you. Like I had one car on the highway that started to drift into my lane, and the MaxCam was able to record it, but I did notice going back and looking at the video footage, I wasn't able to capture the plate, even though the car was right there next to me. So I do find it to be a little bit lacking in terms of all-out quality, but in terms of convenience, it does the job, which is really kind of what the priority is, I think, for a rental car dash cam. Now, one thing that I commonly see is when I'm driving around in the mountains, detection range against radar can actually be really short. Like for example, here's one 34/7 encounter that I had against a park ranger in the mountains. And the MaxCam did provide me enough warning for a save if needed, but not a crazy ton of advanced warning, just honestly due to the terrain. So this is actually a good reason of why I really like detectors with as much sensitivity as possible, because in tough situations, you really need every ounce you can get. Now, as far as recording encounters for things going on behind me, remember how I mentioned that the MaxCam doesn't have a rear-facing dash cam? And so instead I was using the A229 Duo. I actually had an issue that was totally my mistake and something that I messed up that I didn't even realize until after I got home. You see, at one point we had stopped because I needed to grab some diapers out of the back of the minivan, and in the process I wound up bumping the lens on the rear A229 and knocking it up to point into the sky. And so for literally the entire rest of the drive, I wound up driving with the dash cam pointing up, primarily up into the air. It was able to record a little bit of the road, fortunately, but it wasn't exactly ideal. Nevertheless, for situations where if I maybe picked up some radar back behind me from another park ranger in the mountains, I could go back and watch the video footage from that rear dash cam, and even though it was pointed up into the air, as long as things were just right in terms of a longer straightaway or maybe up on a hill or something, I was still able to see the park ranger back behind me. So it definitely wasn't optimal, but it still ultimately did the job to kind of record what was going on back there. Something I would do for next time is just make sure I'm double checking the screen here to make sure that, this isn't pointed up into the air like that. It's still kind of pointed straight. Or if I was using a dash cam like this that doesn't have an adjustable rear lens, it would be much more obvious if things are like that as opposed to maybe pointed straight. So something that I noticed that I definitely have to keep an eye out for next time. Then coming back to the MaxCam again here real quick, another thing that I noticed is some KA falsing, which was honestly kind of surprising. There were a couple situations where the detector was actually falsing to around 35.5-ish. I'm not entirely sure why this was happening, and I do use Ka-band segmentation here on the MaxCam to knock out some of the range of frequencies, but even on some of the closer to legitimate frequency ranges, I was still occasionally seeing some false alerts here with the MaxCam. Finally, one other last issue that I ran into, which I guess was also my fault, was the power cable selection here for the A129 Pro. I was kind of in a hurry grabbing the dash cam to toss into the car, and I couldn't find the factory cable. A lot of different cables use USB ports here like this. So you can see actually the Vantrue and the Viofo, they both use the same types of USB ports, mini USB. And I must have grabbed the wrong cable for the A129 Pro because while it worked to power the dash cam, there were times where I was driving and it would actually tell the dash cam to switch into parking recording. And so it was parked while I was driving. Now, luckily it still worked because I had the dash cam set to motion detection and impact detection. So while I was driving, it would typically be recording just because of the motion outside the car. But I definitely want to make sure that I'm using the proper power cable, and so that would be something important. Maybe not an issue if you don't have like a whole stack of dash cams in the closet. But with this USB stuff, it definitely seems to be important to really stick to the factory cables. I've seen other issues in the past just using other USB ports, and so factory power cable, definitely important here with these dash cams. And so, yeah, I definitely learned quite a few things that I wasn't expecting. As far as kind of my overall thoughts with the setup, I like the MaxCam as far as its convenience for, K-band filtering. Performance is pretty good, we see in testing. I mean, you always want more, of course. And the dash cam, definitely convenient to have a dash cam here. I do wish the quality was better, but that's also, I guess, part of the trade-off of the convenience. One device like this, one mount, one power cable, and so it makes it really easy to just quickly install. For my personal, permanent installation, I'm definitely going for something with 4K and higher video quality, but as far as just something quick and easy to toss into a car, it does do the job there. Now, as far as the rear dash cam, I would definitely prefer having something with a suction cup just for a little easier installation, and I do think actually having the whole dash cam like this will make it much easier for me to tell in case maybe the dash cam gets bumped, something I wouldn't see from the something like this, where if I'm just looking at it on this side, I can't see the angle of the lens, right? Unless I'm actually looking at the screen, which is tough when it's all the way in the back of the car. But I do like it as far as the video quality, and I mean, not the best for temporary installs to use some double stick tape there. I do think that as long as something like this sticks to the rear window, I do think that something like this would actually be better. And down in the video description, I'll link to all the different dash cams and everything that I mentioned here in this video. And so I do think I'm going to continue using the MaxCam as far as my rental car setup. For my permanent setup, I do prefer something with better video quality, and it's kind of more optimized both on the radar side and on the dash cam side. But as far as something quick and easy, it does do the job. And so yeah, that's just my thoughts on all that for now. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you're all doing great, and I'll see you in the next video.